Well, we may have a surge of early summer coming up mid and late week, but how long is that going to last? That is going to be the big question. Thanks for clicking on to the Monday edition of Hogan's European Outlook. Pulled into a lay-by here on the A9 on my way up to Invergordon and looking around, and it still looks like midwinter. The growing season has definitely been delayed by a few weeks, simply because of the cool spring that we've had so far. And it really brings back the memory of 2013 when I remember looking at the trees on the 1st of May, and the trees still looked as if they were in a mid-February state, and of course that was the coolest spring in 50 years for the British Isles. So it's amazing how nature responds to the weather at a given time. We are starting to see budding. We are starting to see the buds starting to form in trees. So yeah, it is starting to come, but and we are going to see a significant surge in that growth probably through the middle and latter half of this week with the warmth coming up from the south. But I think it is going to be a kind of false start to spring, unfortunately, because it does look as if the modelling indicates cooler weather coming back in late month and into the month of May. I touched on that in a post on Saturday, that it does look very likely that this warm spell not only is short-lived, but it unfortunately is it's warmth in a sea of cold, and I think we're just going to have to be quite patient this year overall. The warmth coming up mid and late week doesn't look as if it's going to be as much for Scotland and Northern Ireland as first thought. The modelling has kind of tailed back on the temperatures somewhat, but certainly down across the majority of England and Wales is going to feel like early summer temperatures into the low 20s quite widely, and 25, possibly 26 somewhere in the southeast of England during the course of Thursday. So today upper teens to the southeast, low 20s tomorrow, and on Thursday we should be talking about 25 quite comfortably in and around the Greater London area. But unfortunately, by the time we get out to Friday, while temperatures really are only generally in the upper teens to around 20 in a lot of parts of particularly central and eastern Scotland. Further west, I think we've got a wee bit too much breeze, maybe a bit of cloud cover as well. Thickness values are a little bit tapered, and therefore I don't think we're going to get as much warmth even with sunshine. We may see a 21, maybe 22 down around the borders somewhere during the course of Thursday afternoon. But by the time we get to Friday, high pressure is regrouped, centred over England, and in fact we're pulling in air from the west, from the Atlantic, for Scotland during Friday. So we'll go from the kind of upper teens to around the mid-teens, even the low teens on Friday. So it is going to be a very, very short tease of warmth for Scotland and indeed for Northern Ireland. So before we get to there, tonight we're going to see rain increase, winds increase, gale force, coastal areas, exposed high ground, and it's going to be a thoroughly quite a wet and windy night, I think, across a good chunk of northwest England, North Wales, pretty much the bulk of Ireland, Northern Ireland, and indeed Scotland as well. That system quickly passes on to the north here. Then we've got another system that kind of flirts up the west coast of Ireland here, but as we start to see that area of high pressure over the continent building, it starts to push weather fronts out, keeping it out to the west of Ireland Wednesday and into Thursday. And then you can see here during the course of Thursday, we of course have a scenario where you notice the 540 line isn't overly far away from the northwest of Scotland, and hence why even with sunshine, temperatures will probably hold at about 15 to 16 degrees. Further east, with a little bit of kind of downslope and enhancement, and of course the sunshine, will probably kind of get to the 20 degree, 21 degree mark, I think, in some parts of the northeast of Scotland and down the east coast. And then, like I said, Thursday and into Friday, we'll start to see the winds coming back in off the Atlantic. This is 18th on Friday. We've got winds coming in from the Atlantic, much, much cooler compared to Thursday. And indeed, you're starting to drop that 540 line back south once again. Then as we go through the weekend, we'll start to see the area of high pressure deflate moving into the continent. It opens the door to the Atlantic once again. And that is the start of a slippery slope back the way in terms of temperature, I'm afraid. As we go through the course of next week, low pressure is going to be very much the dominant aspect. Nothing particularly extreme by any stretch, but certainly nonetheless it is going to when you hold an Atlantic westerly flow, you're keeping the temperature at least at average, maybe slightly below average. But this is what's interesting, right? Next weekend, so not the upcoming weekend, but the following weekend. And remember on Saturday's post I said to you that there was a good chance that we're going to go from kind of above normal this week to slightly above normal next week, and then we go back to below normal. And look at what the GFS is indicating, something very similar to what we've seen during the late February, into March, and even into the beginning of this month. Low pressure to the south over the Bay of Biscay, high pressure elongated, stretched out west to east to the north. And that means to say we're having that cool easterly once again. And this is where I'm meaning we need to be patient this year, because we are going back to a disappointingly cool pattern as we leave April and begin the month of May here. So you can see it here, low pressure to the south, high pressure to the north. That is not the warmest of patterns to open the month of May. Hope you have a great day, and I'll be back in the next few days with more. Bye for now.